has always been to create catered solutions and ethical manners for all the people that I work with. And today we're going to be talking about parents, grandparents sponsorship, as well as some other solutions and stuff. As you guys may know, there is some difficulties within this program right now. So yeah, let's start. So obviously, right off the bat, we know what the parents and grandparents sponsorship program is. It's a program that Canada made to reunify families, Canadian citizens and permanent residents, the ability to sponsor their parents for permanent residency in Canada, right? They wanted to reunite families and be able to bring their family over permanently. Sponsored parents, grandparents, they receive permanent residency on arrival. They can enjoy health care. They can contribute to Canadian society. So obviously the process can be complicated sometimes, but right off the bat, the first thing that has to happen is submit an interest to sponsor form. These are submitted to IRCC directly online. There used to be more commonly paper applications as well for these, but now they are mainly done just online. After that, there is a random lottery that they pick, and you get an ITA. Once you get the ITA, you have about 60 days to submit a complete application with the required documents. That's if you're selected after the random lottery that's conducted. There's only a limited number of sponsors that are selected to apply. After the submission, the IRCC, they obviously review the process, the application. They may ask for additional documents. It may be at this time in which they may ask for things like an extra medical exam or greater clearance for police checks. But overall, within the 60 days, usually you have the documents ready to submit so that you can be prepared for a full submission and getting the decision. Lastly, then there is the decision in the permanent residency, and you get that permanent residency on arrival. And if they're already in Canada, they get their PR card. So the process is quite easy in that regard once the decision is made. Requirements, obviously, for those of you as sponsors, you need to be 18 years of old. You need to live in Canada, be either a PR or a citizen. The main thing in terms of the requirements is the undertaking, right? So we want to be able to show that you will be able to take care of the people that you are sponsoring. The main thing is wanting to show that they will not fall onto the Canadian system and, of course, they're going to be able to reap the benefits of Canadian healthcare, Canadian social services, and everything. But the whole main thing is to show that you'll also be able to support their time and their stay within Canada when they're here. So obviously, you need to show that you can provide the financial support for at least 20 years, and you can't have any defaulted sponsorships or any outstanding debt when you are doing the sponsorship for the parents or grandparents. The required documents that you will show. You need the proof of Canadian citizenship or permanent residency. So obviously these are like your passport, birth certificate, PR card, citizenship certificate, the proof of relationship, similar documents in that, even like the back page of passports in which you have the parent's name, those work in terms of proof of relationship. When it comes to parents and grandparent sponsorship, once again, the main thing is the undertaking, and therefore the main document that we need to show is the NOA for the past 3 years. So you need to show the proof of income that you meet the minimum necessary income requirements. And you also add T4 slips, T1 general forms, bank statements, employment letters, anything that shows your financial status during the time that can supplement the application. Obviously, for any place that the applicant has lived in for more than 6 months after the age of 18, they'd also need police clearance checks. This is something that often, when the 60 days comes, some applicants don't have the police clearance checks ready, and that's very, very normal. At that time, you can submit an older one and let them know that you have a new one in process that you're attempting to get. Same with the medical examinations. It's not necessary that they will ask you for one, but there is a good chance they will. And if they ask you to do one, they will send you an immigration medical request letter, and the request letter will have a link in it that points you to immigration IRCC approved physicians no matter where you are in the world. So that part is also pretty easy, and it's not necessarily necessary, but it may be. The income requirements, as you guys can see here. So these are the income requirements for the 3 tax years before you apply. This is the line 1500 in your NOA. So this is what you would have to prove for the income requirements within the parents, grandparent sponsorship. Potential timeline. So obviously 60 days after receiving the invitation to apply, in which you guys have to submit the documents. The IRCC processes the application, then usually it takes between 1 to 2 years. It depends on the current state of affairs within immigration for how long it's going to take for them to do that. And then they get the decision in permanent residency. Unfortunately, right now, as you guys can see, and you probably have heard, the 2025 intake for parents and grandparent sponsorship is closed. They're still stuck on pulling from 2020 and 2021 files. In fact, originally, the target from IRCC was, I think, around 34,000 for parents and grandparent sponsorship in 2025. And instead, the most likely potential, I think, target they have for PR landings through parents and grandparent sponsorship in 2025 is 24,500. So that's just a decrease in, about almost 10,000 just in this program for this year. So it is being, the random lottery is nice because it gives everyone a fair chance for those who have submitted. But unfortunately, there is a lot of difficulties in, getting that chance right now. There is a solution, and that solution right now is Super Visa. And the Super Visa is beautiful because they recently have updated the rules for Super Visa. The Super Visa is a temporary resident visa that allows parents and grandparents of Canadian citizens or permanent residents to stay in Canada for an extended period. It's just a visa, but it's a lot better because the visa you can stay for 6 months, but with a super visa you can stay up till 5 years. And so that was nice. Just a few years ago, you could only stay up to 2 years on the super visa. So now they have updated that to make it 5 years so that, grandchildren can have their grandparents near them much longer periods because, it's nice to have that. This also provides multiple entries for a period for up to 10 years. So same as the multiple entry visa that you would normally have, except for instead of being able to only stay 6 months, you can stay up to 5 years and enter multiple times throughout that. Similar eligibility as the parents and grandparent sponsorship. There's the minimum 18 years. You have to live in Canada, be a Canadian citizen or a PR, and you have to meet minimum necessary income requirements. I will show you as that is a little different in this program than it is for parents and grandparent sponsorship. And then the main document difference in the super visa as to the parents and grandparent sponsorship is the invitation letter. These invitation letters are also quite basic. You can see the examples of the affidavits that are created online as well, or you can ask me questions after this. They're just a promise of the financial support, maybe the addresses, the duration, plans of what the parent or grandparent is planning to do during their visit. But it's quite a basic letter, but it's just an invitation letter that would be needed by the sponsor to the applicant. Unlike the parents or grandparent sponsorship, which is a PR application, you can submit that inland in Canada, or even a visitor extension. But the super visa, the applicant needs to be outside Canada when you submit for a super visa. So you need to have the stamp that would occur on the passport that would only occur at a visa office outside of Canada. So therefore, for super visa, it has to be in the domestic country for the applicant. The admissibility requirements are relatively the same for any program in terms of security. And there's going to be the immigration medical exam that they will have to also be providing. The main two things that are different as well in this super visa application is one, you must purchase health insurance, and I'll go over that in a second. But the NOA, instead of providing for the past 3 years, you only need to provide for the past 1 year. So there is a little bit less undertaking that is shown in super visa, but that's mostly because of oh, 1 second. Yeah, that's mostly because of the health insurance, right? So the health insurance has to be from a Canadian insurance company or an insurance company outside Canada that's approved by RCC. And it has to be valid, obviously, for 1 year, provide up to 100,000. And it's mainly for hospitalization, covering the healthcare repatriation. This is just to show that obviously the applicant is not going to be defaulting towards the Canadian government. And obviously the biggest difference in this than the parents, grandparent sponsorship is in parents and grandparent sponsorship, they land as PR. And obviously in that moment, they get a lot of different benefits being a permanent resident of Canada, whereas obviously as a super visa, they're here on visitor status and, they are only able to go as far as their insurance may take them, as well as not the ability to study or work. They're only here as visitors. So there is that difference, but at least it allows them being able to, visit for extended times, especially when the parents and grandparents sponsorship program has been closed for so long. I think it's a very good thing that they've at least extended it to 5 years. So as you guys can see here, the minimum necessary income requirements in the super visa are a little bit different than in the parents and grandparents sponsorship. These numbers can be found on the Canadian.gov immigration website. They are subject to change. This is known as the Super Visa LICO. So if you're ever just wondering what this is, Super Visa LICO, this was updated June 2024. It is subject to change. And you can also, on the same website, you can find the processing times. So right now for Super Visa from India, the processing time is 137 days. That's relatively high from what I have seen. I have gotten answers on super visas in about half that time, but it is currently taking quite a bit of time. And I think that's also possibly because there is that news that parents and grandparent sponsorship is closed for intake currently. So obviously, a lot of people are moving towards the super visa to ensure that their grandparents and their parents can come visit. Um, but I'd love for you guys. I know it was very quick to take any questions. I know you guys had some questions about H&C as well, which we can talk about. The H&C is mainly for exceptional circumstances. For example, if maybe there's a child out there whose parents may be unfortunately passing away, and having a grandparent here who's not able to fit through the parents and grandparents sponsorship could be very helpful for them, and be the best interest of the child, and remove that hardship. But those are more exceptional, extreme cases in which we see more the need to use those humanitarian and compassionate considerations. But overall, um, I would say that the super visa is a good solution to the parents and grandparents sponsorship program being so capped recently. In terms of documents that you may require that are from India, there's lots of different things that may fit the mold. Because I know often when it comes to parents and grandparents sponsorship, there can be many documents that people may not have, just because during that time or maybe where they're from, it can be difficult to gather certain legal documents. I'd love to take any questions though, for those who have anything that they'd like to ask.
In case anyone has any question, they can just unmute themselves. I believe there are no questions. We can move forward. So, Om, we are done.
Yes, it was a very quick. There's not much
Okay.
to talk about in terms of parents, grandparents sponsorship today.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Awesome.
if
So,
anyone has any questions, or they can always they can always send me an email. They can give me a call. The intake, like I said, is closed for parents and grandparents sponsorship. You can still submit an interest to sponsor form. It just won't necessarily be looked at this year at all. So my only advice is to look more into the super visa, as that being the solution towards having your parents here and waiting until um, that program opens up once again.
perfect. Awesome.
Hi, Om. Deepak here. Thanks for this seminar. I was just wondering, you have covered up only parents and grandparents. If you can give us some highlights about the recent changes and their impact, because everybody is affected with the latest changes which is coming up, or what you are thinking. That will be great as we have sufficient time to go through on this. Thank
Definitely,
you.
yeah. So obviously, there's been quite a bit of changes going on within the immigration world right now. This is happening because Canada is attempting to curb all sorts of fraud that was occurring within the immigration world, and I think that you see that in the four main ways that we're seeing that right now. One, which happened during last year when they removed the ability to get a postgraduate work permit for public and private colleges, or for private colleges. It was only for public and main universities in which they allowed those postgraduate work permits. That was one thing to curb a lot of the international student fraud that was occurring. Um, the next thing we saw, obviously, that's happening very soon is they're removing 50 points for the LMIA, which is quite massive as it reduces the selling and the purchasing of jobs that made the market a lot less able for those who deserved, well, those who deserve jobs, without the need to purchase them. So that was a big thing. A third thing that we're seeing is going to happen within the next few years is the refugee claims also being quite scrutinized at another level because we see an uprise in them for people who are using them as a last minute hail to try and stay in the country. So all these rules that we're seeing at the end of the day, what they're really doing is actually making it better for those who are genuinely attempting to get their immigration done in a manner which doesn't include any form of exploitation or fraud. So it is a little bit of a downturn for a little bit of a year or so, but for the most part, if people continue to work hard, they should be able to find new openings and pathways. They're going to be opening new pathways regarding those who've done their masters here, PhD here, as well as bachelors here, and move away a little bit from the private colleges that were maybe offering 1 to 2 year diplomas, and maybe more give those benefits towards those who have completed full degrees. I think we have another question.
Yeah.
Shubham?
Yeah, hi, thanks a lot for your time. I just wanted to ask one question that, so in my case, if let's say I'm a PR, so my father is a single parent, I lost my mother. So can I go for the compassionate grounds or no?
Yeah, so it would be with humanitarian and compassionate considerations, what we'd have to look into is are they not able to travel? Would the super visa not be something that works for them in terms of being able to visit you? The agency is mostly used in terms of the best interests of the child in regards to the parent is not able to travel, they're extremely ill, they have the inability or their presence within Canada would be extremely beneficial for the child in terms of their mental, emotional, physical health. So I think it would be more if they are not eligible for the super visa and the super visa would not be able to meet their demands of being able to see you. So it would be a little bit difficult, but it could be a conversation we can have if I can get some more information with you after.
So when you say child means what, like, as in supporting me here?
Well, it would likely be if they have any grandchildren in that regard, that would be more in that
Oh,
regard
got
being
it.
able to, yes, exactly. See, the agency, I mean, I just had recently an application in which we did for somebody and they got refused, and they were 89 years old. They were a mother and they were a widow, and they got refused on the basis that they could still travel at this time. And just them being able to travel, they said that you have a super visa until 2028. We don't see a reason in which why we should give you agency. There is the parents and grandparents sponsorship program. We're sorry that it's capped and that it's full, but that's not the grounds for agency for them. So they're very strict even in that regard. With someone who was, like I said, 89, 90 years old, was a widow and was quite old. They just didn't have the exact full proof that they were completely disabled from traveling and that the fact that living in India alone would be extremely harmful towards their life.
Got it, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is helpful. Maybe I have
No
your number,
worries.
maybe I'll reach out to you separately.
Yes, definitely. My only other also thing is with the agency applications that because they deal with them with such great scrutiny, that it also can ruin your chances with other applications in the future. So there is a good chance, you do an agency application, and they look at your other applications in the future with even greater scrutiny because of whatever you said in that application. All of them all the documents that are submitted within them are able to be viewed. So the details that you provide in one application need to stay consistent amongst them all.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Sorry, I have a question again on this. So you are saying compassionate ground comes only when the super visa person is not able to get it. So it makes more chance on that if the
It's
super
not
visas are not coming up.
it's not necessarily that when the super visa is they're not able to get the super visa. It's more when they're inadmissible towards Canada and there's actual difficulty in their ability to live in India or any other country alone. Like the point is not necessarily if they're not able to get a super visa, but their need to be as a permanent resident with the person is for the best interests of the sponsor, the best interest for the applicant, and that applicant is not able to travel. That's a very, very big thing. The applicant needs to show that their physical health would be heavily, heavily deteriorating by that constant travel that might take place within a super visa. And even there, that argument that they may make that, oh, you can stay up till 5 years, and that's what we saw in that recent application that was just occurred, that they're very, very strict amongst what they look like what they look at in agency.
Thank you.
No worries.
So, just one follow-up, sorry, Shubham, this side. So if let's say in my case, if my father doesn't have any financial support in India, then what do I do? Then they may say that, okay, go for super visa. Why should we give you compassionate PR?
Correct. They will say exactly that. They don't have the financial reason is not necessarily enough for them to grant the grounds of agency. Um, exactly. However, if there are greater medical concerns with your father, there could be more of a possibility that could be made within that conversation. But they would make that argument that the super visa should be more than enough to suffice.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
So if anyone else has any question, they can unmute themselves and ask their question.
So what kind of a document will suffice uh, to to um, to get a doctor's letter from India?
Yeah, so it'll have to be certified doctor's letters that'll have their obviously their whatever office or clinic that they're operating from, as well as possible either a stamp, the headers, and as well as some details regarding the applicant themselves. I can share that with the exact details, what is needed within those medical letters, but it does need to be official medical letters from their doctors as well, with stamps and either a header or a company logo of some
Okay.
sort.
And would it be tested data as well to whatever it's been mentioned over there
Pardon?
from perspective?
Would as in, well, the immigration medical examination that they would have be done would likely have some sort of correspondence. So they would look at some of them for it to be genuine.
Okay.
Yeah, they would look at it to some degree. It would depend on the practitioner that you go to for the immigration medical examination.
So you are saying they have, because as I know, Canadian government has their approved medical practitioners.
Correct.
So they have to go over there and they will finally approve, not any doctor.
Yeah, so I mean the end doctor is what I mean is the medical examinations that you would be providing in terms of documents for an agency application would likely be from your own personal doctor. But when they are to request a medical examination, then the medical examination that they request, the letter that they send you has a link on it that sends you to a government website that then lists all the approved IRCC doctors in every single country. So those medical examinations do need to be done by the immigration IRCC approved medical practitioner. Yes.
Okay. Okay, Daf. Thank you. Thank you.
No worries.